So what's the point of predicting the entire Premier League table in the middle of the summer? There's no point really. Yeah, don't even know why I'm doing this, just... Alright, so which team are we gonna piss off first? Let's start at the bottom. Huddersfield Town. Each season there's always that unfashionable club that comes up that no one really gives a chance. They said Wigan couldn't do it. They said Blackpool couldn't do it. They were right. So am I gonna make the same mistake? Hell yes. Huddersfield Town are going to prop up the league. It would be great if they could survive. David Wagner would probably have a statue put up in the town, but the real lack of Premier League experience is going to count against them. And when your saviour is Tom Ince, Christ above. Watford. Marco Silva, I wouldn't even bother unpacking if I was you. You'll be out of a job in about 9 months regardless of how well you do. The Watford owners must have serious commitment issues. They've been booting out every manager before he even has time to learn the name of the tea lady. Replacing Alec Baldwin with Colin Farrell was an interesting one. At least this fella can actually speak English. On the downside, Watford are solely relying on a 29-year-old Troy Deeney to score them goals. Are you confident, Watford fans? You shouldn't be. Burnley. Credit to Sean Dyche, really. Hats off. You kept Burnley up last season and had most of the neutrals rooting for you. No mean feat when you have a convicted felon and a homophobe in your starting 11. Sorry, alleged homophobe. Yeah. Despite Burnley having been turned into Ireland FC, I'm still going to predict a swift relegation. Via second season syndrome, which is a thing. Sunderland. Oh wait, my bad. Take 2. Swansea City. There we go. If Gylfi Sigurdsson leaves Swansea, they are f***ed. But luckily that's not going to happen. Tammy Abraham was a decent signing from Chelsea. Too scared to sign for Newcastle due to their nightlife. To be fair, he might have a point. They'll stay up, but Christ, I wouldn't put any money on it. Brighton. Remember when Chris Hughton was sacked by Newcastle 6 weeks after beating Sunderland 5-1? Presumably because he didn't headbutt enough managers. And he's done alright for himself since. Stay out of this, Norwich. Brighton haven't been active in the transfer market just yet. I think they'll pull a few surprises and have just enough to stay up. I mean, Christ, half the teams are going to be bollocks by the time they get off the coach. Stoke City. 15th. Christ, who wants to finish 15th? Although I suppose considering the way they finished last season, and the fact that all their players are jumping ship quicker than Theon Greyjoy, Stoke City would probably snap your arm off. You know it's bad when Phil Bardsley thinks he's outgrown you. The good news is that it's nice to see Darren Fletcher off the toilet and back on the pitch. He's a good signing for Stoke, so that is good news. The bad news is that their best player has just left them for a team who finished 1 point above them last season, so there is that. Mark Hughes is one of the favourites for the sack, having won 4 of his last 17 games. Not really surprised. But if they make sure Saido Berahino doesn't spend another season with his face in the fridge, they should be okay. West Brom. Watching Tony Pulis' mind-numbing brand of football is probably only slightly more fun than spooning your eyes out with a rusty fork. They've kept Johnny Evans, which is a plus. They've also added Jay Rodriguez.
But when your legs don't work like they used to before.
There's only 3 rules in football. The first being that England will always lose on penalties. The second being that the media should refrain from mentioning Adam Johnson. Oh, fuck that one up. And the third being that Tony Pulis does not get relegated. Leicester City. Has football been ruined for Leicester City? Let's face it, they're never going to have it better than they had it 2 years ago. So what do they hope for now? Mid-table mediocrity? Riyad Mahrez is still at the club, nearly 2 months after penning a farewell letter. Bit awkward considering the shortage of takers. And whatever happened to that Jamie Vardy movie? If Gavin Harris doesn't have a cameo, I'm riot in. Bournemouth. Alright, who or what was playing up front for Bournemouth last season? Because that was not the Josh King we all know and love. Love's a bit strong. The King of the South scored 16 goals last season, which means that he's one of the top strikers in England, right? Is he? Up until that point, the man was 25 years old and had scored 12 league goals in his entire career. So it's probably a good job they've gone and signed Jermaine Defoe, because that man might as well have got a tattoo of one season wonder stamped on his forehead. The glass ornament that is Jack Wilshere's left Bournemouth, probably with the aid of a Zimmer frame, but they should continue their free-flowing football and enjoy another comfortable season. Newcastle. I wonder what Newcastle fans are thinking about the current transfer window. Sign some f***ing players. For the last 10 years, Mike Ashley's been treating Newcastle with the same contempt he shows for his cholesterol. After finally hiring a manager worthy of the club, he's promised him funds, and yet the club has spent a net £11 million on a championship winger and a fullback who already has first-hand experience of getting relegated in the northeast. Yeah, that's sure to come in handy next season. If Rafa Benitez was not in charge, they'd be in trouble, but a couple more additions should be okay. Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace were promoted 5 years ago and have had more managers in that length of time than I've had hot showers. Please don't tell people how I live. Frank de Boer built a fine reputation at Ajax, but was about as much use as a glass hammer during his 5 minutes at the San Siro. Crystal Palace underachieved massively last season. Good man, Alan. But they should have enough about them to have a crack at the top half this year. Because if not, bye-bye Zaha and Benteke. West Ham. David Gold might look like he's constantly smirking at a joke he just told, while David Sullivan plots the invasion of Poland, but to be fair to them, they've actually got their finger out this summer. They've actually signed some pretty good players. Now that Payet is just a bad dream, they should approach this season with a clear head. And if Chicharito catches fire, Donald Trump will probably be delighted.
Build that wall! Build that wall!
Wow, that was too dark. Southampton. I don't even know what Southampton fans want anymore. Probably for all their players not to keep off to Liverpool, but at least they've gone and appointed a manager who used to play for the Reds. That'll show them, especially when Van Dijk leaves for Anfield on deadline day. But still, last season they finished 8th and reached a cup final. And Klopp, well, still got the boot. So, would they be happy with another 8th place finish? If the answer is no, well then tough shit, because that's what you're getting. Southampton fans, I love you really. Everton. Spurs and Liverpool, take note. This is how you sell your best player and not completely fuck up your team with a bunch of deadwood. At what point do you sell Suarez or replace him with Ricky Lambert and Balotelli? They brought home the local hero, just ignore that. Signed Davy Klaassen, Michael Keane and Jordan Pickford, who's probably thanking the gods that he no longer has to play behind John O'Shea and Papi Gilabodji. Another local lad is reported to be on the way out, but Ross Barkley is John Joe Shelby with hair, so that's no great loss. Arsenal.
Look at this Rob, man. Seriously, blood. Come on, fam.
I swear we're only 5 minutes away from getting fam and blood put into the English dictionary. Liverpool. How much do Liverpool just wish Barcelona would f*** off and leave them alone? The Catalans are the proverbial creep at the pub, spending the evening leering at the Scouser's wife. Don't know why I put Coutinho as the woman in this. If the Brazilian does decide to follow in Luis Suarez's footsteps, it's gonna make top 4 very difficult. Manchester United. So last season was an interesting one at Old Trafford. Enemies became friends, Pogba met his barber a millionaire, Lingard dabbed until my eyes bled, and the club picked up a few trophies. So all in all, not bad for them. So Lukaku's at Old Trafford now, fresh from headlining Glastonbury, or at least that's what the Irish Herald seem to think. People might claim that he has the touch of an unconscious goat, but the man has been a prolific goalscorer in this league since he was a teenager, so he should fire Man United into the top 4. Tottenham. Spurs, you're doing this all wrong. I remember the days when Andy Reid and Lee Young-pyo were hailed as top signings for Spurs. What happened? Now the club are in the hunt for the title every year, winning golden boots and qualifying for the Champions League. Not even a dodgy batch of lasagna would have stopped them last season. I just have one question though. One small question. Why is Moussa Sissoko still at the club? He is the definition of how to become a millionaire despite contributing absolutely nothing to his profession. And he didn't even have to go on Love Island. They haven't really done much on the transfer market so far, but they have somehow turned Kyle Walker into a £50 million man. They'll come third, but they'll be pushing first all the way. Chelsea. Yes, I've dethroned Chelsea. Let me hear it, Blues fans. Tell me I'm wrong. How can a team who were comfortably the best in the land last season, strengthened by £100 million, and go backwards? I just have a feeling Morata will take some time to adapt. Why you no play Batshuayi? And the fact that they'll be juggling a European campaign as well, I just think they'll come up short. So who wins the league? Yeah, unless you've got the mental faculties of a certain Everton striker, you'll have guessed it already. Manchester City. That club have spent £120 million on fullbacks this summer. £120 million. On fullbacks. Think of all the things you could have bought with that instead. There's no doubt Pep Guardiola gets his size to play good football. Now is the time to back it up. Instead of letting Jamie Vardy score a hat-trick against you and making Tom Davies look like Zinedine Zidane. With an attack of Sané, Sterling, Aguero and Jesus. No, not that one. And backed up by Walker and Mendy on the fullback flanks. With Danilo cheerleading from the bench, I guess. Christ, this team will be good. And if it's not, Pep will be brought out and given 40 lashes. Or just handed his P45. Probably the latter because this isn't medieval times. So there we have it, the full Premier League table in all its glory. I have never been less confident in my life. So when I inevitably get every single one of these wrong, and West Ham end up winning the league or some shite, you can come back to this video and tell me how wrong I was. Wait, no, why am I agreeing to this? Alright, cheers lads. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, give it a share, and as my Irish forefathers would have said, on Will Cadogan, Dulgady an Leris Moshe de Holly.